Rohan, as someone who has had Jason Kidd coach your team, I thought it would be good to get your perspective on how you think he fits for the Mavericks. Maybe you can answer this as well. I mean, some people give Jason Kidd a lot of credit for Giannis's development as a pro. Some people say that's way overblown. We know there are unfavorable things that came out about him this offseason in the Giannis book that came out. What are your thoughts of his fit in Dallas and kind of his match and mesh with Luka?
I am really interested to see how soon this goes very poorly. Because there is a good chance it will. I have no idea how that even happened, how he managed to get another NBA head coaching job, because I feel like it's lost within the sense of his time with the Lakers, winning a title as an assistant there. It's just the Milwaukee experience was awful. He came in there, and the narrative is like, oh, it became a playoff team as soon as he came there. Sure, that's true. That did happen. But also, it's because they had a bunch of veterans that they signed that previous offseason that really helped them get to the playoffs. Before, they were just a team that was trying to tank. They were trying to get a top pick so they could take Jabari Parker, which worked out fantastic. And so they signed a bunch of vets, wanted to win. It was the first year of the new ownership group. They wanted to make the playoffs. So it's like, okay, let's sign a bunch of vets. And then the next season, they're like, oh, we made the playoffs. We don't need these vets. They didn't make the playoffs. They stunk. Yeah. So it's not really like Jason Kidd was some massive success story in Milwaukee. In fact, he held Giannis back in a lot of aspects. In terms of like his rookie year, he had a very, very strong three-point shooting season for his career. His stroke looked fantastic. It was a great shot. And then it just all sort of fell off. And that's because he barred Giannis from shooting threes. He really barred Giannis from shooting threes. And it was just like Giannis went on the record and said, this affected me mentally. He went on the record and said that this sort of decision is affecting my shot going forward. And you still see that hesitancy at some points to this day. So it was not great, the Jason Kidd experience in Milwaukee. Best of luck to Mavericks fans. Hopefully it goes better for you, but I doubt it.
So what do you think the consequences are going to be for Luka? I mean, I think he's going to be, when they released, the top NBA 100 players, I think he's a guaranteed lock on that list. But with Jason Kidd, like you mentioned, I feel like there might be some consequences to Luka's game, not to mention Luka and Porzingis not getting along even before he got there. So do you foresee kind of Luka's game taking a hit just due to Jason Kidd's incompetence? Like what? To the best of your knowledge. Okay,
he's too good. He's too good to really take a hit in that respect. Okay. He's so developed at this point where it's like no coach can really harm him. He is so good already. I don't really think that's going to matter. This experience could end up being good for this team. It could be like sort of like you figure yourself out, because this team, at the end of the day, the Mavericks, they haven't won a playoff series with Luka. Maybe they should have. Maybe we'll see. Like, that's up for debate. But they won 7 games with Kawhi 2 years in a row. It's unfortunate, and that's a really good team. They just matched up against them twice in a row. But this could be a period where they're just like sort of building their strength, their mental toughness, and it could end up being good for them. Like, at the end of the day, the Jason Kidd experience in Milwaukee, it led to a title in the sense that they got rid of him and won a title. They became good. So it's just a learning experience potentially for the Mavericks.
So maybe Jason Kidd is the stepping stone coach.
Yeah, it could be. It could be a stepping stone.
Rohan, I want to ask you, shifting back to the Bucks, is there kind of a chip on this team's shoulder, and along with the fans too, or am I misreading that in terms of kind of the respect that the Bucks have gotten within the last few years? Just because I just think of Brooklyn and I think of the Sixers, and I just feel like they're mentioned way more than the Milwaukee Bucks, and they're like the defending champions, and I feel like they have star power, they're exciting to watch, But yeah, in terms of mentioning like the elite of the Eastern Conference, there that's not even mentioned. I mean, even from a panic standpoint, let's just hypothetically play this out. The Knicks, won the title last year, and they're 5-6. They have all the headlines, but with the Bucks, they just seem to fly under the radar. Is there any kind of like, I don't know, a wish to be more in that national conversation, or do you just don't give a crap about that kind of stuff in terms of just getting that national recognition?
I mean, it would be nice in some respects. Maybe not right now when they're struggling, but maybe in terms of respect, it's something that's earned. Like it exists within the league. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's always going to be a point of emphasis for national media. It doesn't really matter at the end of the day. In terms of this team, I think they know exactly what they need to do now in order to win a title, which is what matters at the end of the day. So they have emboldened themselves, and the rest of the league knows, they have that championship confidence now. You see that with guys like Pat Connaughton, with Bobby Portis. Pat Connaughton was one guy who was like out of the rotation, like in and out of the rotation like a few years ago. And now you imagine him hitting every single clutch shot when you're watching a Bucks game. You're like, oh man, Pat's got this. Bobby Portis, he became a cult hero during the playoffs. It's like, okay, these guys are going to show up come playoff time. In terms of the respect for the league, if they do it again, it's impossible to really discredit them. You can only say, X, Y, Z happened so many times. They just got to go out there and prove it again. If they want that, if they want to be treated as a team that it's like, do you want to be remembered as a team like the 04 Pistons who went out there, got one title, and just like it was a great run. They had good conference finals appearances. Or do you want to be known as a team who can win a few in a couple years? Be like a mini Spurs East. That's what this Bucks team has wanted to be. They've wanted to emulate the Spurs. Can they be a Spurs-esque team? Obviously, no one can really touch that era of basketball that San Antonio had. But can you be a team that is going to multiple finals, potentially winning multiple titles in like a 4 or 5 year span? We'll have to wait and see. This team is determining its own legacy before our very eyes.
Well, I think they're going to be a very compelling team to watch. And before I let you go, Rohan, I want to ask you about Giannis's, MVP chances this season. Where do you think kind of he stocks up in that race? And do you see any kind of surprise? You mentioned DeMar DeRozan. That's a kind of shock. I'm sure, Julius Randle, his stats look pretty good this season. Where kind of do you see Giannis falling in that right now in kind of the early MVP race?
He's definitely going to end up being up there. I imagine this team very drastically improves record-wise as they get healthy, as their schedule lightens up a little bit. So as long as you're like the best player on one of the best teams, you're going to be in the conversation. Especially like Giannis had very similar stat lines to what he's had. Team had very similar records last regular season, compared to the 2 seasons he won MVP. The reason, which honestly is fair, that he didn't get a lot of MVP consideration last year is because his team was faltering in the playoffs. But they won the title, so you can't really hold that against him anymore. He's currently the second leading scorer in the league, so if he's in the running for the scoring title, as well as playing all level defense, and his team is on pace to be one of the best teams in the league and the conference, and that they're a title contender, I think he's going to be very well suited to be in the top of the MVP conversation. Whether he wins it or not, that's a different story. But I do predict that he's probably going to be in the top 3 when it's all said and done.